Urban Planning and Hybrid Solar System. The crisp morning air carried the scent of dew-drenched pavement as I sat in my electric car watching the world slowly wake up. It was just past 10 o'clock when I received a trip request, one that stood out for its length. Over 40 minutes. As I arrived at the pickup location, my attention was drawn to a row of 6 charming townhouses. At the end stood one that caught my eye, not just for its design, but for the sleek 2-seater Mini parked in the carport, connected to a 7-kilowatt charger. Curiosity got the better of me. I stepped out for a closer look, admiring how that charger could replenish about 40 kilometers of range per hour. Sustainable energy solutions have always fascinated me. I found myself smiling. The future was slowly blending into the present. Just as I settled back into my car, my phone pinged. A message from the rider. He needed a few more minutes. No problem. I was already wondering what kind of person lived there. Someone clearly invested in clean energy. A few minutes later, the front door opened, and out stepped a man in his late 50s. He was sharply dressed, but carried an air of quiet urgency. No bag, no laptop. Unusual for someone who looked like he was heading to an important meeting. "Good morning, sir." "How's your day going?" I greeted as he slid into the passenger seat. "Fine, thank you," he replied curtly. His mind was clearly elsewhere. We drove for about 10 minutes before he suddenly straightened up. "Turn around," he said quickly. I glanced over, puzzled. "What happened, sir?" He let out a frustrated sigh. "I forgot my laptop. It's critical for my meeting. Not ideal. We had already covered a fair bit of ground, but I understood." "No worries, sir." "We'll head back," I said, making a U-turn. Sensing my calm, he offered, "I'll give you a $10 tip for the trouble." I smiled. "That's okay, sir. Don't stress. The fare will adjust itself." We soon arrived back at his home. He dashed inside and returned 2 minutes later, now carrying a sleek black briefcase. "Now we're good to go," he said, exhaling in relief. As we resumed the trip, he seemed more relaxed. I was curious how someone so meticulous could forget something so crucial. Almost as if reading my thoughts, he said, "I'm deeply involved in urban planning research, working with a high-profile developer. I'm also upgrading my own home, adding more solar panels and improving my car charger setup." That caught my attention. "When you say urban planning, do you mean city design or individual estates?" I asked. He turned to look at me, a little surprised by the question. Then he began explaining, sharing insights about planning principles, energy flow, and global trends in sustainable design. His words resonated. "I've done some personal research on that," I said. "Choosing land based on sunlight and wind patterns really affects people's well-being. Sustainable materials and hybrid energy systems make a huge difference." Now I had his full attention. "That's an interesting perspective," he said. "What kind of research have you done?" I smiled, aware that a rideshare driver discussing urban sustainability wasn't something he expected, but I told him what I'd observed. How strategic building placement optimizes natural light and airflow, improving both physical and mental health. I talked about hybrid systems, combining solar and wind to enhance efficiency. He nodded thoughtfully. "That's aligned with what I'm writing in my next book." "Would you mind sharing more insights later?" "I'd like to introduce you to a colleague who's studying eco-housing." Before I could respond, he glanced at my dashboard. "Your car, it's electric?" "Yes," I said. "What's the range per charge?" "Roughly 300 kilometers." He nodded, impressed. "Do you have solar at home?" "Yes, a fairly large system." His curiosity deepened. "I have a 6.5 kilowatt setup, but I'm debating whether to add a battery. It's just too expensive, around $10,000 up front." "Why not consider a hybrid approach?" I suggested. He leaned forward. "Hybrid? What do you mean?" "Instead of spending 10 grand on a battery," I explained, "you could install a 6 kilowatt wind turbine. That way, you generate power day and night. It costs about $4,000, a big saving compared to a battery." He looked genuinely impressed. "I hadn't thought of that before." "That's brilliant." From there, the conversation flowed easily. He asked about my construction experience in Australia and overseas, and I shared a few insights. He seemed genuinely intrigued by my practical suggestions. As we approached the destination, a sleek, modern building, a poised woman in a black dress stood waiting at the gate. He turned to me with a warm smile. "Thank you. This was one of the most interesting rides I've had." He stepped out, gave me a firm handshake, and walked toward the entrance. I watched as he greeted the woman and disappeared inside. Just as I was about to drive off, my app lit up. He'd left a $22 tip, a pleasant surprise. But more than that, I felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. This ride had been more than a trip from point A to point B. It was a reminder that knowledge can come from the most unexpected places, and that a single conversation can spark ideas that shape the future. As I pulled away, the morning sun shone brighter, reflecting off my car's hood, a quiet nod perhaps to the possibilities that lie ahead.